Incidents of police brutality have increased by 9% in the past year. This is according to a report released by the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. The report also found that KwaZulu-Natal had the largest number of reported incidents of deaths as a result of police action, followed by Gauteng and the Western Cape. Here to talk to me about this, I'm joined by Ipid spokesperson Grace Langa, South African Human Rights Commissioner Chris Nissen, as well as Vanessa Burger, an independent community activist for human rights and social justice. Good evening to you all, and thank you very much for your time tonight. Grace, the numbers indicate that police brutality is on the rise. Is it because there is just generally evidence of unnecessary use of force in police work, or is police work becoming that dangerous that police have got to use brutal force to respond?
First of all, good evening to the viewers of Newzroom Afrika and
Chris,
to you all.
Chris, hold on a second. I just wanted Grace to take that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening and good evening to your viewers. It's a mixture of both. In many cases, it's abuse of force, and in many cases, it's other related matters.
What are other related matters?
For instance, when they go and arrest somebody and the person fights back at the police and they're being aggressive, in most cases, the Police Act allows the police to use force in order to protect their lives in such circumstances. Yeah. Now, protests have been spread around the world, but also here in South Africa, Grace, putting pressure on the police departments and leaders of political leaders within the police force to reform law enforcement and tactics. Why is this not yielding any results? Instead, we are seeing a 9% rise. That I wouldn't be able to respond. Only the SAPS can respond to that. Yeah. Remember, we only respond, get involved after the action has been committed. Yeah, but you are the watchdog, right? And your actions, in a sense, should be deterring this kind of behavior. So if you are holding police officers accountable for brutality, that means that these numbers should be going down. So should we assume that Ipid is not doing what Ipid is supposed to be doing? Ipid is doing everything it can. When police officers are out there working in a group, we don't know what happens. In most of the cases, you find that things get out of control. I don't know. I don't want to call it excitement or influence, pressure, or what. But with Ipid, we are doing our best. We have convictions, and even under difficult circumstances, resources, capacity, we are pushing. Yeah. Are you saying there's nothing more Ipid can do at this point to enhance accountability? You are pulling all the stops. You're doing all and everything that Ipid can possibly do. We do that, and we also go as far as visiting police stations to conduct station lecture. So it's one of the objectives that Ipid has in its annual performance strategic plans, to say because of the number and the problem that we are facing, we are seeing that things are increasing. We resulted in taking it upon ourselves to visit police stations, educate the police about the rights of people, about their rights and what they need to do under whatever circumstances, in line with their conduct, the police conduct policies. Yeah. Chris, you can come in here. I mean, if the police watchdog is saying we've done all we can, including visits, yet brutality is still going up 9%, it means we need to find another intervention. Clearly, the one that we're currently putting in place is not working.
Thank you so much. And first of all, let me say from the onset, there are many men and women and men in blue who are good police officers that seeks to do whatever they can to combat and prevent crime. and it's only a few minority that thinks that they can do things and not be held accountable. It's very sad that indeed that we've seen an increase in this alleged brutality. Let me also say, when police officers are out there, they must use minimum force, not force that leads to the death of people, and particularly those deaths in detention, those in the police cells. And we have been saying that they must be brought to accountability. So I think that much more can be done in order to keep them accountable, because we cannot allow this kind of alleged brutality within the South African police force by a minority of members who seeks to go beyond the mandate and not stick within the mandate. So that's why I think the issue about accountability is the most important element to make sure that those men and women who seek to abuse the mandate and go beyond that and cause these injuries and this death be held accountable. There is absolutely no excuse. And therefore we say also to the community that where police men and women are being gunned down, that too is completely unacceptable, and we need to find a better way of working together with South African police services and the broader community. But with this number, the increase is completely unacceptable, and institutions like Ipid must do whatever they can to keep these men and women accountable and not say that they must use whatever force they need to do. There's a minimum force, but it gives no police officer the right to inflict. Even in dangerous situations, they must use whatever they can to protect themselves, but also at the same time not to see this increase of alleged brutality within the South African police services.
Vanessa Burger also joining us on the line in this conversation. And Vanessa, you are in Durban, which is one of the areas really identified, or at least a province that is identified in this report as where the number of people dying at the hands of police is on the increase. What can be done to enhance accountability, and is all that can be done being done right now?
Thank you. No, I don't think everything is being done that could be done. The actual structure of Ipid, for starters, the positioning of it sort of answerable to the SAHRC is not working. We have investigations that are carried out by Ipid officers, referred to the police, and then there's no sanction after that, which is obviously that's not Ipid's fault. But in terms of what Ipid is actually doing, we do have a problem in KZN, particularly where there are police officers who are actually employed by Ipid. Even our head of KZN Ipid, is a former police officer, and I believe that this does present a conflict of interest in certain instances. So I think that needs to be looked at, and where there are cases, repeat cases particularly, I think it needs to be looked at who are the Ipid investigators in those cases. Are they doing their job properly? And the length of time that some of these cases take. Some can take up to several years to be concluded, which is also, I do understand that Ipid is constrained by resources, manpower, and all of that kind of thing. But at the same time, in my personal experience with some of the cases, the investigators haven't done their job, and they have not had the proper direction from management. So that is disappointing from our side.
All right, Vanessa Burger, Grace Langa, and Chris Nissen, stay with us. We'll continue this conversation in a moment. We're back in a moment on In Focus, looking at police brutality. Welcome back. You're live with us tonight here on In Focus, Newzroom Afrika, channel 405. The conversation on police brutality. Latest report from Ipid indicating that police brutality on the rise, up 9%. Chris Nissen earlier on saying it is a minority that is really causing this level of impact, and there's more that can certainly be done on accountability. Grace, two issues being raised here on the quality of data that Ipid is able to capture. For example, repeat offenders. Are you able to look at that and be able to say with certainty that these are repeat offenders and what should be happening to them? But two, the level and the quality of investigation Vanessa, raising, that sometimes it's not at the degree and the level that it should be at, but also management not clear, particularly on the instructions that they give to the investigators?
Definitely not true. It's definitely not true. We only register the cases as they come. We don't have a category where we say this is a repeated offender. If you are reported today for assault and tomorrow you are reported for something else, that's how we record it, the way it came about.
Yeah.
So in terms of investigations, let me tell you, IPID, I mean, it's very much unfair, especially for people who are outside Ipid and then want to speak as if they understand what's happening in there. Ipid, nationally, all 9 provincial offices, we've got 170 investigators who deal with all South African police officials in South Africa. This number excludes Metro Police. Let's talk about the very KZN case that we're talking about. KZN has got only 13 investigators who investigate the whole of KZN, SAPS, including Metro Police officers. And you have female investigators who have to leave their families in the middle of the night and go and attend standby. Some of the issues that make our cases to be delayed is the issues of DNA tests, ballistics, forensics, part of investigations. We rely on Department of Health to assist us. We rely on SAPS itself. And both those departments have got backlogs in terms of forensics. So we rely on them. If they cannot give us the result, there's nothing we can do, which is one of the issues our executive director, Ms. Dikele Dintlate, is lobbying to say, how about Ipid be given its forensic section? So it's something that I think we are planning to see it in the next future. Hopefully will be given funds to address that.
Okay. Don't you find it disturbing, though, because I find it a little bit disturbing finding out that you are unable to pick up if an individual has had frequent run-ins of police violence. You only pick up the incident as it happens. Don't you think as Ipid you would derive more value in being able to better understand the frequency in which police officers are offending?
I'm saying in terms of categorizing them in the annual report, like we have case of death, rape, whatever, 2 times, 4 times, we don't do that. But once a person is being investigated, and then part of investigation obviously will be to check, to do background checks. If a person is a second offender, obviously those are things that we mention in the court processes, and then they determine the sentence as well. If whether the person gets a lower sentence or what is because of those repeated offense. But we don't have a place where like we categorize them. We don't categorize them in our system. We only identify them when we go to court.
All right. Vanessa, would you say, by and large, that's probably the nub of the matter as far as capacity within Ipid, for example, to do things like forensic? It's not independent, I suppose, enough, and relies a lot on the other departments, including the SAPS itself.
I do agree, frankly. The whole setup with Ipid is basically being designed to fail from the beginning. The positioning of it sort of within the facts, answerable to the minister, answerable to, with investigations in that, whether the police decide to take the recommendations or not. The resourcing, the under-resourcing, the fact that I could only have a tiny, tiny fraction of the budget that SAHRC has is completely unacceptable. And it's a message from national government, that accountability of the police is actually not a big concern. So I totally agree with that. Also, the actual way that the police operate, not only to do with Ipid, but also, the post-94 attempts to demilitarize the police, and how that was later undone by the current police minister. All of that, as a political factionalism, all of that plays into the problem that Ipid faces at the moment. As I say, it's become designed to fail, which is not fair for Ipid itself. But it's particularly not fair for the victims. This kind of structural, systemic kind of issues, these need to be addressed. And more money Ipid is not going to help if Ipid is not given true independence and move away from the police altogether and given its own powers, the same powers as the police have.
Yeah. Chris, what's going to be done to address these concerning states? I mean, what are you as the Human Rights Commission going to do? One, there have been plenty calls for the intervention, particularly on the training on how to de-escalate tense interactions so that, it doesn't escalate to a point where you've got to use brutal force. But also, a question that Vanessa is raising on the demilitarization of our police service. Is there an intervention on your part that you can come in here and assist?
Indeed. With South African Police Services, we as the Human Rights Commission have got an MOU, and one of the issues that we're doing is that we try to impact on the curriculum for the training program in the academies, is to make sure that we impact and see how we can help in policing with the human rights culture. They do have within the curriculum a part of that. We believe that with our assistance in assisting them in trying to develop a more progressive, a training manual on policing with the human rights culture. However, what's important is the mindset. And we believe that the mindset within some sectors within the service is to try and see that not the people as the enemy, but the people that will help you to combat and prevent crime prevention within the Republic of South Africa. The problem that we face in South Africa today is that there are some people within the service that think that they can do Rambo style and they can just get away with it. The minister himself has been very clear, and I'm glad that you mentioned earlier on in your play the case of the El Dorado Park teenager, Julian. So the point I'm making is that there's cognizance of the fact that there are some rotten apples that seeks to destroy the image of South African police services. But any official of South African police services is there to protect and to serve, and not to use that mandate of theirs to inflict wounds or hurt or conflict and violence upon the people. And so as the Human Rights Commission, we on a daily basis, we engage, we do visitation to police stations, we offer training, we offer talks in which we try to say to people, to members, make sure that you do not abuse your power. The South African Police Service is there to protect and serve us, and not for those minority that seeks to abuse their positions to then inflict this wounds. We are obviously very concerned, and we raised it at the beginning of this year at the Portfolio Committee on Police, the number of people dying in custody, whether it is, and all of this must be investigated, whether it's alleged suicide, alleged whatever it's called, but we are very, very concerned about it. And there are some repeat offenders. And I will raise this with Ipid at the national level, because we have been engaging some of them at the different institutions. But certainly, there's a lot that you can do. But the one important thing is within the service is to stop this, not to turn on your colleagues. We're not asking you to turn on your colleagues. We're asking you to say, if any member of the South African Police Services are doing things that are not right and causing further mistrust, a trust deficit within the community, and non-confidence, please stop that, because we need the community to assist South African Police Services to combat crime and prevent crime in this country.
Yeah, certainly, I mean, carrying out disciplinary action, let alone firing a police officer, has been a very difficult thing. From the conversations that I've heard with some of the analysts, for example, some of the court cases take quite long, but not only that, as you're putting it, Chris, some of the police officers, of course, protect other men in blue, and it's not very easy to get the kind of evidence, even the one that we are hearing coming out of the Nathaniel Julius court case. But Grace, what is it then that can be done? Is there some kind of modeling on the part of Ipid, similar to the kind of data that you released, where you could be able to recognize patterns of bad behavior among officers so that you can root them out? Because the fear is that, you know, such wrongdoing might even be contagious. We might be talking right now that it's a few bad apples, but those few bad apples can end up actually affecting the rest of the officers.
Yeah, you're right. It's something that one will have to escalate it to management, and then we'll look at it. It's a valid point, and I do agree with you.
All right. We appreciate your time. Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there for today. Grace, appreciate your time. Grace Langa speaks on behalf of Ipid. Chris Nissen is the Commissioner for the South African Human Rights Commission. And Vanessa, thank you very much for joining us on the line, independent community activist for human rights as well as social justice.